Bob calls into his job. Hey, boss, I'm not coming to work today. I'm really sick. I got a headache, a stomach ache, and my legs hurt, so I'm not coming into work. The boss says, You know, Bob, I really need you today. When I feel like this, I go to my wife and tell her to give me sex. That makes me feel better, and I can go to work. You should try that. 2 hours later, Bob calls. Boss, I did what you said, and I feel great. I'll be at work soon. By the way, you got a nice house. A patient complained to a doctor that he wetted his bed every night. Before it happens, do you see any dreams? The doctor said. Yes, doctor. Usually I see a dream in which a small demon comes and says, Let's pee. Okay, the doctor said. Next time you see the demon, say, No, we've already peed. Next time the patient came to the doctor, the latter asked, So? Did you do as I said? Yes, I did. Did it help? Yes, doctor. Only it made the matter worse. How? As I said, we've already peed. The demon nodded and said, Then let's shit a little. John O'Reilly hoisted his beer and said, Here's to spending the rest of my life between the legs of my wife. That won him the top prize at the pub for the best toast of the night. He went home and told his wife, Mary, I won the prize for the best toast of the night. She said, Aye, did you now? And what was your toast? John said, Here's to spending the rest of my life sitting in church beside my wife. Oh, that is very nice indeed, John, Mary said. The next day, Mary ran into one of John's drinking buddies on the street corner. The man chuckled leeringly and said, John won the prize the other night at the pub with a toast about you, Mary. She said, He told me, and I was a bit surprised myself. You know, he's only been there twice in the last 4 years. Once he fell asleep, and the other time I had to pull him by the ears to make him come. A man and his young wife were in divorce court, but the custody of their children posed a problem. The mother gets up and says to the judge that since she brought the children into this world, she should retain custody of them. The man also wanted custody of his children, so the judge asked for his justification. After a long silence, the man slowly rose from his chair and replied, Your Honor, when I put $1 in a vending machine and a Coke comes out, does the Coke belong to me or the machine? An Irishman, an Englishman, and a Scotsman were sitting in a bar in Sydney. The view was fantastic, the beer was excellent, and the food was exceptional. But, said the Scotsman, I still prefer the pubs back home. In Glasgow, there's a little bar called McTavish's. The landlord there goes out of his way for the locals. When you buy 4 drinks, he will buy the 5th drink for you. Well, said the Englishman, at my local, the Red Lion, the barman there will buy your 3rd drink after you buy the first 2. Ah, that's nothing, said the Irishman. Back home in Dublin, there's Ryan's Bar. Now, the moment you set foot in the place, they'll buy you a drink. Then another, all the drinks you like. When you've had enough to drink, they'll take you upstairs and see that you get laid. Several times, all on the house. The Englishman and Scotsman immediately pour scorn on the Irishman's claims. He swears every word is true. Well, said the Englishman, did this actually happen to you? Not myself personally, no, said the Irishman. But it did happen to my sister. A young banker decided it was time to upgrade his wardrobe and get his very first tailor-made suit. He went to the finest tailor in town, got measured, and a week later came back for his first fitting. As soon as he slipped on the suit, he looked sharp, like a man ready to take on Wall Street. Standing in front of the mirror, he admired the perfect fit, the crisp lines, and the confidence it gave him. But as he reached down to slide his hands into the pockets, he paused. There weren't any. Puzzled, he turned to the tailor and said, Excuse me, but this suit doesn't have any pockets. The tailor raised an eyebrow and replied, Didn't you tell me you were a banker? The young man nodded. Yes, I did. The tailor smiled and said, Well then, who's ever heard of a banker with his hands in his own pockets? A professor sits with a farmer on a train. Bored, the professor says to the farmer, I ask you a question. If you can't answer it, you give me $5. Then you ask me a question. If I can't answer it, I give you $500. What do you think? The farmer nods. The professor asks the farmer, What is the distance between the Earth and the Moon? The farmer silently takes out $5 and gives it to the professor. The farmer asks the professor, "What animal has 3 legs when ascending a mountain and 4 legs when descending a mountain?" The professor thinks hard but couldn't find an answer, so he reluctantly pulls out $500 for the farmer. The farmer takes the $500 and prepares to nap. The professor asks, "What animal is it?" The farmer takes out $5 and gives it to the professor. Then he falls asleep. An elderly couple struggling with memory signs up for a course that teaches word association to help recall names. They love it and tell everyone about it. A few months later, their neighbor sees the husband gardening. "Hey, Ed," he asks, "what was the name of that memory course instructor you raved about?" Ed pauses and scratches his head. What's that flower called?" "The one with a lovely smell and sharp thorns." "You mean a rose?" "That's it." Ed turns toward the house and yells, "Hey, Rose, what was the name of that memory guy?" A cat passed away and went to heaven. At the pearly gates, God greeted the feline. "You've been a faithful little cat all these years. Whatever you'd like is yours." The cat thought for a moment. "Well, I spent my life on a farm, always curled up on cold, hard wooden floors. I'd love a soft, fluffy pillow." "Consider it done," said God. Instantly, the cat had the fluffiest pillow imaginable. A few days later, a dozen mice arrived at the gates after a tragic accident. God welcomed them with the same offer. The mice said, "We've spent our whole lives running, from cats, dogs, even broom-wielding humans. Could we please have tiny roller skates so we'll never have to run again?" "Of course," God replied, and in a blink, the mice were gliding around on perfect little skates. A week later, God checked in on the cat. She was curled up, purring contentedly on her pillow. "How's everything going?" asked God. "Are you happy here?" The cat stretched, smiled, and said, "Oh yes, this is paradise. My pillow is perfect, and those little meals on wheels you keep sending me are absolutely delicious." On a crowded train, traveling somewhere in Europe, a U.S. Marine walked the entire length of the train looking for a seat before realizing that the only seat available was currently occupied by a well-dressed, middle-aged French woman's poodle. The weary Marine asked, "Ma'am, may I have that seat?" The French woman just sniffed and said to no one in particular, "Americans are so rude. My little Fifi is using that seat." The Marine walked the entire length of the train again and discovered that the only seat available was in fact the one currently being occupied by the poodle. Trudging tiredly back, the Marine arrived once more before the French woman and said, "Please, ma'am, may I sit down? I'm very tired." She snorted. "Not only are you Americans rude, but you are also arrogant. Why should I care if you are tired?" This time, the Marine didn't say a word but simply picked up the little dog, tossed it out the train window, and then sat down. The woman shrieked, "Someone defend my honor. This American needs to be put in his place." An English gentleman sitting nearby spoke up. "Sir, you Americans seem to have a penchant for doing the wrong thing. You hold your fork in the wrong hand, and you drive your car on the wrong side of the road. And now, sir, you seem to have thrown the wrong bitch out the window." An exhausted-looking blonde dragged herself into the doctor's office. "Doctor, there are dogs all over my neighborhood. They bark all day and all night, and I can't get a wink of sleep." "I have good news for you," the doctor answered, rummaging through a drawer full of sample medications. "Here are some new sleeping pills that work like a dream. A few of these, and your trouble will be over." "Great," the blonde answered. "I'll try anything. Let's give it a shot." A few weeks later the blonde returned, looking worse than ever. "Doc, your plan is no good. I'm more tired than before." "I don't understand how that could be," said the doctor, shaking his head. "Those are the strongest pills on the market." "That may be true," answered the blonde wearily, "but I'm still up all night chasing those dogs, and when I finally catch one, it's hard getting him to swallow the pill." Johnny's mother was upset about her son's swearing habit, so she took him to the church. There, the priest is waiting. After finishing her own confessions, little Johnny's mother talks about her situation. "I don't know what to do with my son anymore, Father," she says. "He started a while ago to say swear words, and now he is saying one in every sentence. Why? I have just the perfect solution. The priest smiles. How is he financially? I mean, does your son have a piggy bank or something? He keeps his savings. Once in a while he gets one coin or two, the mother replies. Very well, the priest exclaimed. Make him donate 10 cents for the church for each time you catch him or know from someone that he said a swear word. Come back at the end of the month with him to give to the poor box everything he owes. Maybe financial pressure will control him. Great, father, the mother grinned. I'll start today. At the end of the month, the mother comes back to the church. She seems unamused. The priest noticed her bad mood and asked, So, tell me, how did it go? Yeah, father, he is quite a chatterbox. He owes $9.90, the mother revealed, turning to her son. Little Johnny, come here. Give the money to the priest. Johnny comes, quite ashamed, and hands the priest a $10 bill. $10? The priest said, I'm afraid I don't have 10 cents to make change. Oh, father, don't worry. Little Johnny smiled. Just go fuck yourself, and we're even. John was at the grocery store buying beer for poker night with his buddies. When he is in the frozen food section, a voluptuous redhead approaches him and says, Excuse me, I think you are the father of one of my kids. John replied, Oh, were you that redhead that I banged in the bathroom at Shannon's a couple of years back? You certainly look good. The redhead replied, No, sir. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I teach Timmy, your 5-year-old son. An old woman prospector walked up and tied her old mule to the hitching post. As she stood there, brushing some of the dust from her face and clothes, a young gunslinger stepped out of the saloon with a gun in one hand and a bottle of whiskey in the other. He looked at the woman and laughed. Hey, old woman, have you ever danced? The woman looked up at the gunslinger and said, No, I never did dance. Never really wanted to. A crowd has gathered as the young gunslinger grinned and said, Well, you old bag, you're going to dance now, and started shooting at the old woman's feet. The old woman prospector, not wanting to have her toes blown off, started hopping around. Many were laughing. When his last bullet was fired, the gunslinger, still laughing, holstered his gun and turned around to go back into the saloon. The old woman turned to her pack mule, pulled out a double-barrel shotgun, and cocked both hammers. The loud clicks carried clearly through the desert air, and the crowd immediately stopped laughing. The gunslinger heard the sounds too, and turned around very slowly. The silence was almost deafening. The crowd watched tensely as he stared at the woman and the large gaping holes of those twin barrels. The barrels of the shotgun never wavered in her hands as she quietly said, Son, have you ever kissed a mule's ass? The gunslinger swallowed hard and said, No, ma'am, but I've always wanted to. I had a call from a scammer the other day. Hello. This is Bob Bobson from Microsoft Support. We are seeing a lot of virus activity from your device. Oh no. My device? Are you sure? Not Microsoft Support. Oh yes, we have many reports. Oh geez. How can I fix it? Not Microsoft Support. It's okay, sir. We can help you right now. Are you in front of your device, sir? Yes. I was just about to use it. I'm glad you called. Not Microsoft Support. Yes, sir, we're going to help you. Can you please push the start button? I think it's already on. Not Microsoft Support. Okay, sir. Now you want to click on Control Panel. I don't see that. Not Microsoft Support. Do you see a bunch of information above the start button? Yes. Not Microsoft Support. That is your Control Panel. Wow, I didn't realize it had a name. Not Microsoft Support. Yes, sir. Now press on Internet Options. Yeah, I definitely don't see any Internet options. I don't think I purchased that feature. This is just a cheap one. Not Microsoft Support. They all have the Internet, sir. Press the Start button again. Okay, it's the same as before. Not Microsoft Support. That's okay, sir. We are going to restart your device. Can you please turn it off? I don't know how. I've never turned it off. Since I bought it, it just kind of stays on all the time. Not Microsoft Support. There must be an off button on your device. How do you stop it when it's running? Me. In those cases, I usually press the big button. Not Microsoft support. Okay, sir. Please press that button. Me. Okay. Not Microsoft support. Is your device off? Me. No. The door popped open. Not Microsoft support. Door? Is there a disk inside the door? Me. No. There's a burrito. Not Microsoft support. Why is there a burrito in your computer? Me. Computer? I thought you said this was microwave support. A young monk arrives at the monastery. He is assigned to helping the other monks in copying the old laws of the church by hand. He notices, however, that all of the monks are copying from copies, not from the original manuscript. So, the new monk goes to the head monk to question this, pointing out that if someone made even a small error in the first copy, it would never be picked up. In fact, that error would be continued in all of the subsequent copies. The head monk says, "We have been copying from the copies for centuries, but you make a good point, my son." He goes down into the dark caves underneath the monastery, where the original manuscripts are held as archives in a locked vault that hasn't been opened for hundreds of years. Hours go by, and nobody sees the head monk. So, the young monk gets worried and goes down to look for him. He sees him banging his head against the wall and wailing, "We missed the R! We missed the R! We missed the R!" His forehead is all bloody and bruised, and he is crying uncontrollably. The young monk asks the head monk, "What's wrong, father?" The head monk, with tears in his eyes, replies, "The word is celebrate, not celibate." A couple rushed into town hall just as it was about to close and caught a judge on his way out. Breathless, they asked if he could marry them. "Do you have a license?" the judge asked. When they admitted they didn't, he sent them to the town clerk. They managed to catch the clerk just as he was locking up and quickly secured a license. Back at the judge's office, he examined the document and frowned. "You filled in your names backwards. His where hers should be, and vice versa." Flustered, they ran back to the clerk, who issued them a corrected license. But when they returned, the judge noticed another problem. The date is in the wrong format. Once again, they sprinted back to the clerk. This back and forth continued through 5 revisions until, at last, the judge was satisfied. "I hope you understand why I made you keep going back," he said. "If the license contains errors, your marriage wouldn't be legally valid, and any children you might have would be considered technical bastards." The groom sighed. "That's funny. That's exactly what the clerk called you." A man has the opportunity to win $1 million if he can cross Lake Superior in a 16-foot sailboat. The people sponsoring the challenge give the man 2 choices of what he can bring on the boat to assist him. He can either bring a large box of novels or 2 criminals. However, the people running the competition get to choose what the books are and who the criminals are. The man realizes there could be benefits to either choice. Perhaps the box of novels could be about sailing or survival. On the other hand, the criminals could be experienced in sailing or survival. He decides the most important thing about either is going to be how heavy they are. He is going to be using a really small boat, and too much weight could slow him down or cause him to sink. In order to figure out which one will benefit him the most, he decides to weigh the pros and cons. All the world's finest poets, writers, bards, and linguists were gathered in a competition to determine the best among them. After a week of competing, the finalists left standing were a rabbi and an Australian shepherd. Their final task was to improvise a rhyme containing the word Timbuktu. The rabbi begins and comes up with, "I've been a rabbi all my life / had no children, had no wife / I read the Bible through and through / on my way to Timbuktu." Much cheering and excitement from the jury and the audience. Everyone is at the edge of their seat, awaiting the opponent's rhyme with eager anticipation. The shepherd begins nonchalantly. "When Tim and I to Melbourne went / we met 3 women in a tent. Though they were 3, and we were 2 / I booked 1, and Tim booked 2. Haja, a Turkish farmer, is coming home from the marketplace, and as he's entering his home, he sees 2 men he owes money to coming down the road to his house. Stepping inside, he instructs his wife to tell the 2 creditors that he isn't home. The 2 men arrive and knock on his door, The wife answers and tells them Haja isn't home. The two men are annoyed, and one says, "Don't give us that nonsense. We just saw him walk in this door 2 minutes ago." Then they hear Haja holler from inside the house, "You idiots! What if I walked right out the back door?" A woman decided to have a facelift for her birthday. She spent $5,000 and felt really good about the results. On her way home, she stopped at a dress shop to look around. As she was leaving, she said to the sales clerk, "I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old do you think I am?" "About 35, he replied. "I'm actually 47, the woman said, feeling really happy. After that, she went into McDonald's for lunch and asked the order taker the same question. He replied, "Oh, you look about 29. "I am actually 47, she said, feeling really good. While standing at the bus stop, she asked an old man the same question. He replied, "I'm 85 years old and my eyesight is going. But when I was young, there was a sure way of telling a woman's age. If I put my hand up your skirt, I will be able to tell your exact age." There was no one around, so the woman said, "What the hell?" and let him slip his hand up her skirt. After feeling around for a while, the old man said, "Okay, you are 47. Stunned, the woman said, "That was brilliant. How did you do that?" The old man replied, "I was behind you in line at McDonald's." A cop arrests 3 ducks who were in the pond late at night. That he asked the first one, "What are you doing in the pond so late?" First duck replies, "Blowing bubbles." The cop rolls his eyes and asks the second duck, "And what were you doing in the pond so late?" The second duck answers, "Blowing bubbles." He turns to the third duck. "And what were you doing?" "Let me guess. Blowing bubbles?" The third duck says, "No, I'm Bubbles."